Wow, 2024. We've just entered first month and I'm back for a garden tour and to show you the difference such a short time makes. We're in summer and I've got so much to show you, and if you haven't watched the previous video, I tend to post on YouTube once or twice a month. The last one was a roundup of so many different things, and I do try to pack so much into a video. So if you haven't seen that, I'd encourage you to watch that as well, so you can kind of see the difference between then and now. It's huge, it's huge. I can't wait to show you. No artwork in this one. However, there's been requests to share a little bit about my journaling and my illustrated journaling, so I'm planning some videos based around that, which is really fun even if you're not an artist yourself. Your plant journal, your growing journal, can be a lot of fun if you get creative, so I'll be sharing that in the future video. So over the summer I've been looking after not only my own garden but my neighbours for a period of time, and it's interesting when you've got someone growing alongside of you vegetables, to see what's happening in their garden as well. And we've had an issue with the weather dumping a heap of rain on us a few weeks back, and it was a heap. We had 108 millimetres in 2 days, and we had the humidity with it. We were in summer, and the summer's been very wet. It's been good in a way because the garden gets watered, but then we'll get the humidity, and then we've got issues with the powdery mildew and so forth. We've also had issues with rats, and it seems like we're not the only one. Right across the state, gardeners are complaining about rats just taking out their crops, and it seems like I'm looking at it and thinking the numbers are up, and something needs to be done probably. So I've tried a few remedies. One of the things that I did do is I bit the bullet and bought some electric traps, thinking, oh well, it's a nice way, it's a quick way to die, and they're supposed to get rid of hundreds of mice and hundreds of rats or whatever. So I bought 2 mice size and a rat one, and I've put it out. I put them out about 3 weeks ago. Can I tell you, I've tried all the baits. I've caught nothing. So I would not recommend you to invest in those very expensive traps for a start. So I've ended up putting out first generation bait, and we have screwed onto the fence bait stations. So first generation bait won't kill anything that happens to come across, a mouse or a rat lying on the ground and decide to eat it. So that's really important. Most things in the bait section in your hardware are second generation. So look for that. First and second generation. First generation, you're not going to be killing owls and things. So that's what I did. I'll show you. So there's evidence of activity along our fences, and I did see a rat scurry across over to my neighbour, and it was knocking off their tomatoes. So we screwed bits of black pipe onto, it doesn't need to be black, I thought black would stand out less in certain parts of my garden. Black pipe on the fence are a bit tricky to get the rat sack into there. I use a paper cardboard pole, and I feed it into a bent pole, and then I kind of push it up so it sits inside here. So it's they have to go and find it, but as they're coming along the fence line, they particularly scurry across the top, they can walk inside there and help themselves. My pleasure. So that seems to be working, because I did find one on the ground. So, and has slowed down the theft in the garden. However, I think I'm going to have to be persistent and keep going. You know, there's probably a lot around. And let me show you the growth over the few weeks and what we've got happening here. So that's the back of my wire cage. I don't know if I filmed from the back side of it. I have filmed from the front, and I've got a video on how we did this cage and the moving of it, and it's not that long ago, and already you can see it's greenery. It's pretty much half full. And over here in this bed was a new bed as well, hugelkultur bed, and a volunteer, or three actually, volunteer pumpkins have popped up in this, which I've allowed to just have this bed. There is potatoes under there as well. So underneath there's potatoes, and all the foliage have died back. I have to actually go in and see how they are. I put a few beans in. There's a few lettuce seedlings that my neighbour gave me. They're kind of struggling a little bit under there and trying to get some light, but it's a nice lettuce variety. I can't tell you what it is. I have to find out, but it's nice. And I've trained the two plants that are here, up here, over this piece of pergola, not pergola, veranda, like a veranda piece that I picked up almost for nothing off the marketplace. I'm recycling. I've staked it there, and then I've put a branch across here so it can wander onto the cage. I don't know how far I'll let it go, but it's flowering now. It's not today at the moment, but yesterday it was like lots of flowers opening, and I don't know if I've got any females yet, but some of my other pumpkins have got females. But it came up by itself, so I trust it knows the timing and the weather. I do watch the volunteers and when they pop up, because particularly tomatoes seem to know the season better than we do. We stick to dates, but the weather really dictates our season. So here are lots of beans that I'm growing up. These are dwarf beans, and then I've got the climbers. I have been picking off this. This is a lazy housewife bean, and we've been picking fairly regularly off this. But I have a feeling that something else has discovered it in the past day or two and is picking too. It's taking beans. So we do just. I thought these little things were birds, but I'm not sure if we've still got little rats in here. My hothouse is not being used at the moment, and we had given it over to a little blue tongue, or rather chubby blue tongue, but I have seen, before I put the bait out, I did see a small rat come out of there, or mouse. I think they're bush rats. I don't know. Small but bigger than a mouse, so I'd say it's a rat or a young rat. Now, you saw in my last video, you saw the young berries that we've been picking in the current here. This bed has been transformed quite a bit because I've taken them out of the ground, as I said I would. I've taken them out and put them in there. So I've staked it to the support that we put in that video. But you can see here what I was saying before, they were growing, that their tips have gone down, rooted in the ground and trying to grow along there, and you can see them just behind the wall there. So I've pulled a few out, but I haven't really focused on doing that. I really need to dig in there and get them out. So the young berries are just no different to blackberries, really. A lot of those berries will just be a nuisance in your garden if you don't contain them. And in an urban setting like I have, I don't have the room to let them have a big expanse of room. They also sometimes, when they do throw out runners, this is a clumping type of plant, the youngberry that I have, and it's thornless. But some of the runners do turn up, or the seeds do turn up on the ground or root into the ground, grow, and end up prickly, just like a prickly blackberry. So I get rid of them quick smart. So in here I've got baby eggplants, and I'm growing peanuts for the first time. Not in my life, I've grown them before locally, but once before, very long time ago. So I thought I'm going to put some peanuts in. So I've got them in a couple of places. I've tried them in the side garden, which I'll show you the side garden because that has advanced quite a lot. But I have had a lot of slug and snail issues in that section of my garden. It's amazing how different in a small urban setting one part of your garden can be to the other, and how the plants respond and the pest pressure in different areas. So you can see I've got young berries I've got to deal with over there too. So in here I've planted purple beans, which we're getting now. Beans grow very quickly this time of year. I can still be planting them now, and I've put lots of different beans in this year. We didn't have any beans last year. I planted a few seeds last year, too late, got nothing. This year I've focused on getting some beans in, and we've been enjoying lots of beans. And my scarlet runner, which in my last video I showed you it was struggling to get any light with the young berries that had filled this section, they've come up and they're very happily climbed up and up and up and up and up and up and up. I've given them a bit of string over here to continue on their merry way. We've been harvesting off these a lot. They grow the most enormous pods. I've been picking them young, like this size, and probably up to about that size, and just chopping them like green beans and eating like that. I haven't found them too fibrous. Once I think I found one a bit fibrous, but in general up to about that size. I could chop them up and steam them just like you would a green bee. Hello, green bean, and look at this bee. She's doing a marvellous job there. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this bean needs to be pollinated, where a lot of beans don't. But anyhow, I have got lots of bees, which I'm very grateful for. I don't use chemicals, and I encourage interplanting, flowers, and all the things that encourage the predatory insects and the pollinators to come into my garden. The zucchinis this time round, now I say this time round because last spring, summer was my very first here. So I started then. Now this time round, the yellow zucchini, the golden zucchini, is going great guns. I've just cut a whole heap of foliage off this yesterday. It is a massive plant. The white on it is not mildew. That is the colour of these leaves. They are like a variegated leaf. Okay, and look at the size. Look at the size of the leaf and the flowers. They're huge. Now, I nearly didn't grow this year, and this is a great example of soil health. I grew one over there where I've got another zucchini. Oh, hang on, get my bearings because I moved the cage. I grew it, where did I grow it? About where my dog is. I grew it over there, and the soil was young, wasn't fertilised as much then, with organic matter, and hadn't had time for the microbes to kick in and that. Now, I didn't get much out of them at all. I had 2 in there, and I think I got, 3 zucchinis off each plant, I think. These are going great guns and throwing out zucchinis very happily. You can see how many are on this plant. I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 on this plant, and I picked 2 nice big ones, not huge ones, but I picked them at a decent size before the seeds get big. I picked 2 yesterday. This soil here was the very original garden that I put in. and threw mulch on straight away, threw some dynamic lifter on it and started planting into it and putting, weed tea, or I didn't put a lot of fertiliser onto it, and what I put onto it was organic or just, from the garden. But the mulch, I think, contributed to most of it, and obviously the microbes in this soil are doing the job. Everything that I've planted here has really kicked off very fast and is very large. Even the comfrey is very young there, and it's massive. So the little tomatoes took off very, very quickly. I don't even know if they were planted in my last video. So everything is doing really well here in this area. So soil is everything, and in my books, mulch is too. So I mulch regularly any bare soil. I don't like to have bare soil, and I try and cover it either with mulch or with planting as soon as I can and close those gaps. So the bees in that one, this is the green zucchini. This is your classic blackjack, I think, and it's not doing anywhere near as good as there, because this section here is a very new section too, although it's doing much better than the last year. So I've got all sorts of stuff growing in here. This is more scarlet runner beans. These are a 7-year bean. Oh, hello butterfly. Hello. Hello pretty thing. Hang on, where are you? There you are. I just love seeing the butterflies and bees, and it's looking at me. I'll leave you be. So these are really worth putting in, the scarlet runner beans. You don't put them in 1 year and that's it. You put them in, they last apparently up to about 7 years, so they'll just grow back by themselves. In some climates they'll just keep growing. So here in Melbourne, dies back over the cool months. Not the cool months, the really cold. And it actually likes the cool months and will give a lot of beans in the cool months. But when it gets cold and you get the frost, it'll die back. And then it comes back stronger. So, and then you can just take beans from that and grow some more. And so I've got them dotted around the place, because perennials in my book, perennial edibles, can have as much room as they want in my garden. They are low maintenance, you plant once and they're almost set and forget. Okay, so I've got various different varieties of tomatoes, and strangely some have grown and some have just sit stunted like that. It's just very strange. So I'm going to put some Epsom salts on them, which I haven't done, and give that a go. I've got more flowers growing this year. We've got borage here, and I've put in marigolds, which I've been nipping the flowers off to make them flower more. So you see the marigolds coming up here. They're quite tall, about 1 metre high. And this is the archway. I'll go up the end and show you. This is the left side. All these, most of these are climbing, some sort of climbing pumpkin or cucumber or gourd. These are Armenian cucumbers that are going to be coming right up this side of the arch, and I've got babies on them, and I'm hoping nobody's eating them. I saw babies on them yesterday. I'm hoping I still got babies on them. And so here we go. I'll back up, because those who watched the previous video will see that this was empty. So we have a start, and things are growing up and starting to take on the arches. And over here, this pot was over the other side, and I was deciding whether to move it over here, which I did. It's got my tromboncinos in. It's got way too much in that pot. I've got marigolds, I've got some tomatoes that help themselves to the pot and started growing. I think there's a lettuce in there, and there's a nasturtium. So I have been meaning to pull out more of the plants. I took some tomatoes out. I'll need to pull some more marigolds out and just really leave this pot to grow its tromboncinos, because they need Otherwise I've just got to keep feeding it. So they're growing up here, and I have had trouble with the mice or the rats eating the baby tromponcinos. But I do have one growing there. So I'm hoping it has been pollinated. I did actually stick my finger in a male plant, and in the female end of that the other day, we got another one here. Okay, we've got another one. That doesn't look like it is though. That's gone yellow. Maybe that's the one I did. There's another one there. But in general, I know a lot of people do pollinate their squash, but I got enough work in the garden, and I'm hoping to grow things and provide or create an environment where there's enough bees and insects that do that job for me. Really want nature to do its bit. So I've got beans all growing up here. You can see I've picked them yesterday, so there's only babies on it now. But that's my tromponcino. Some tomatoes, like I said, these are from my dad, and I've put, there's that trap that doesn't work, well, hasn't for me. That's a snake gourd or a bottle gourd. I've got both along here. I have put some more beans in there. I've just again thrown in more beans. I think that's the purple one that you saw just before. And tomatoes, that's a gourd. And these are out of 50 seeds that I planted, or in about 2 or 3 times I planted in different spots of my garden. These are all that survived because I held back the seeds and let them grow a little bit into little seedlings before I put them out. So there's another one there. So I've got 3 out of all of them. I think this is a red sunflower, sun gold I think it's called, or something like that. I think it's, or have I got the tomato name in my head? Hang on, I will tell you. Oh, that's a teddy bear. Oh, that's a teddy bear that has survived. And Ruby Passion. I knew it was red. That's Ruby Passion, those two. So I got 2 different types there, which that's good. I love the sunflowers, but so do the mice. They dig under and eat them. They do the same with potatoes, so I'm hoping I have potatoes in there. And some of these I can't even remember what they are. I'd have to look at my book because I plant so many different sorts. I've got summer and winter squash in here. That's a crookneck there. I can see the tag. I do tag everything, but some of them have been volunteers popping up. I think they're volunteers. And if they are, they could be from the butternut I tried to grow last year and it was too late. So I'm hoping I'll get them this year. I'm really hoping to have a big store of them. I've had some issues with the powdery mildew I've got out here with Milk Solutions that you can see. It's trying to be a pest. That's my yellow raspberry still in a pot because I haven't got a spot for it, but it seems happy enough. My elderberry is deliriously happy in that pot. And I think this will be my largest tomato so far, which is quite big. And the bugs have been eyeing it off and sitting on this bag hoping to get through and haven't, which is good. And the bugs are having a nice time with the hollyhock leaves. But look how pretty that is. That's my white mulberry that when I saw the berries it wasn't white. I've got salad bonnet flowering and seeding, which is beautiful. If you haven't got salad bonnet growing, it's lovely. The leaves taste very refreshing like a cucumber. It's a perennial herb. The bananas are going crazy. And my chooks in there are digging to China. My lemons aren't yellow yet, but there's a lot of lemons on the lemon tree. My apple tree I netted, and so far so good. No Queensland fruit fly because it's here now in Melbourne everywhere. The apples are looking good. And can I tell you about my apple tree? My apple tree, I don't know if there's any, I'll pull the netting so you can see. We get mealybug like it. I've just sprayed, see the mealybug, the fluffy stuff. I hosed it off the other day and they came back. I've sprayed neem oil on it. Was it last night or night before? Recently. So I'll let that go for a bit and see. But can you see how many apples are on this tree? There's a lot of apples on this tree. It's a double grafted tree, 2 different varieties. There's apples on that side, but there's a lot of apples on this side. Now this tree, and I can see if I can see on the leaf, it had this disease I noticed it last year. It had this disease. I need to put this net up, hang on. Okay, I had that disease, a mosaic, I think, virus of some sort. I looked it up and the leaves on all that side had a lot of it. And it was a younger tree. I mean, they grow pretty quickly. Well, my apple tree has grown pretty quickly. I think it's about 3 years old. We'd had a couple of apples the year before, not last year, the year before, a couple of apples, but wasn't netted. The birds probably got anything that was there anyhow. So I had this virus. I did the Google, I looked it up, tried to find the information. Now, any information I found on it said, pull up the tree. It's done for. No point. It's going to die. It's done for. Cut it off. And I was so sad. I'm thinking, oh well, it is what it is. I guess I've got to get rid of the tree. And a little voice inside me said, a lot of things I've noticed in my garden have survived that weren't meant to survive because they were meant to have a certain chemical on it or they wouldn't survive. And I've just fed them and I've created a good soil for them and they've bounced back with vigour. So I'm going to give this tree a chance. I'm going to do the right thing by it. So I planted a comfrey at its base because comfrey has roots that go down up to about 4 metres deep, draw up nutrients and minerals out of the earth that all these plants here cannot access. So that gives that particular tree more access to it. And if I chop those leaves off and give it back to that apple tree, it will get that. I made sure it was always that the ground was kept cool. So I've got strawberries growing at the base of it. So there's no grass, very little grass. I do have to weed in there. So my point is, I looked after the tree, watered it regularly, and I noticed last year there was a few leaves but not many, and we got apples. Now we didn't get a lot. On that side, we got plenty on the other side, and we didn't get a lot on that side. We got probably, I can't remember, 6 maybe. Right, now I did have a little bit of bird issue where I had a netting over it, almost like a tent that kept on getting in. This year I've put the net over it and pretty much tied it round loosely around the base of the trunk, so there's no way the birds can get in. However, I know there was noticeable that side of the tree was not healthy enough to grow a lot of fruit, and it was not going to. This year, I would say that tree is comparable to that side is comparable to the other. If not, I might have more fruit on it. And as you can see, there's still signs of that. It is on both sides of the tree, but it is signs of that, but very little. Now, I took the leaves off the first time. I haven't bothered this time. Last year, I didn't sort of bother once it was growing and fruiting. So I haven't killed it, and it's giving me, I don't know, there's probably 100 apples on that tree. We'll see when it comes to harvest, a bit hard when it's netted in. But there's a lot of apples. There's way more than last year. And it, apart from suffering with that insect that wants to have a good crack at it, it's healthy. So I just need to get on top of that, those fluffy bums in there. Oh, it's getting hot. Okay, so with that wet weather, we had problems with blossom end rot, which is not a disease. It's where the plants, and I'm talking about blossom end rot in the, take you around here. You're seeing a really junky backyard today, but that's the way it is. So here's one here. And I was scared it was disease, and I was scared it was fruit fly and that, but it's from the weather. So I removed the fruit. I left that there so you can see here. See? Whoops. No, you can't see because the leaves are in the way. Okay. So that is from the plant being, it's a lack of calcium. But it's not necessary because there was a lack of calcium in the soil. It can be from the deluge of water, and the plant can't take up the calcium in the soil. So when I got the drier weather, finally I backed the water off right back on the tomatoes as best as I could. I stopped any automatic watering and hand watered and sort of bypassed the tomatoes because I interplant, so they're mixed amongst other plants. These ones in a pot with some pumpkins. But in the garden, they are mixed amongst other plants, okay? It's all interplanted. So that's what I did. And I also added, I had some powdered milk that I don't know how old it is, but a big tub of it somebody had given, left in a tub that I bought actually. So we got it for free. And so I've mixed up powdered milk and watered the base of all the plants that may have that issue or do have that issue. So I did my eggplants, my tomatoes, and also the squash that was the powdery mildew issues. So squashes and cucumbers, I did those too. And of course the chooks got some milk as well. They loved the milk. There's my cabbage from last time. It's a tiny, where's my finger? Tiny little one in the last video. And now I could probably struggle to put my hand around it. So we're getting there with the cabbage. And over here was probably my biggest mouse issue. Now at the back of there, this is all getting very overgrown. I've got a pepino plant in there, and we just love the fruit when we actually got some because I bagged them. The last lot, the mice have eaten through the bag, or a rat has eaten through the bag. I think it was a mouse or a very small rat because the hole was pretty small. And they have eaten the fruit out of the bag this time. So, but this one plant has grown all the way around there. It's just gone wild. It's with its branches, not so much the roots. So I do need to contain that in a way that I can get to it and expose maybe a bit around it so I can see what's going on and maybe keep them off there. In here is the cutest zucchini. I'll show you. I grow a lot of different varieties of things that are not kind of stock standard, which are a lot of fun. And this is a rondinise. This one here is a round zucchini, really cute, good for a single serve stuffing. Oh, there's another one underneath it. So we've picked a couple off here. It's a bit overcrowded in there with the aircon and everything else going around it, but I do grow different varieties. And like the beans, these are the Bertolli, and I think they're Bertolli. I took it out of a soup mix, and when I did my research, they were supposed to grow about 1 metre, up to about 1 metre high. So I put them in amongst this old recycled wine rack and thought, oh, that'll support them and grow it up. Soon I discovered we're up to 1 metre here, They kept going and going and going and going and going and going and going. So I've put a string up there, and they're still going. Look, they're coming towards me now. So they grow just like a scarlet runner. I don't know how many metres they get. Here's the beans. You can see the red, suggesting the red too inside. So I think they're portoli. I've picked a few of them at this size to eat like green beans. Because one thing I'm not sure of is how many you get if you let them go to seed. You know, I mean, we eat the seed pods, don't we, with the dried beans. But then often the plant dies when you do that. This is my candy roaster pumpkin, which is I'm trying to protect from powdery mildew too. And I know this is a lot of this is to do with overplanting, but I still prefer to overplant than underplant. This is possibly my spaghetti squash, I'm hoping. I planted those mystery seeds in here from something that was started to decay from in storage. So I'm assuming it's spaghetti squash. It's young, but you never know. I had fruit this time, February. We're right at the tail end of January now, so February they were ready, so that's behind last year, but we'll see how we go. Our summer has been slow to come, I think. So it's been so wet, had so many cool days. We're meant to get a long summer, so I'm thinking, well, it's probably only just started. My cucumbers were attacked by mice one day, took out everything that was on these 3 bushes. But so far, they have been able to sit there safely. Corn has gone great guns in here. Look how high that is. That corn has grown incredibly quickly. And this is what I did to this bed. In that section where they're growing, I dug a trench out and I filled it with rotten kitchen scraps that I've been saving in tubs. Filled it up and threw it on top. Then we threw some pen soil, which is pretty much chicken soil. Apparently corn will tolerate hot manure. So threw that on there and they loved it. They took off quick. They've grown fast and tall. That one is probably almost 3 meters high, that one. And down here, and I will show you some images because I cooked this yesterday, is the stripy beetroot. And I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but it's Chioggia. And it's when you slice the beetroot, it has rings of red, white, red, white. It's like candy stripes. It's very festive on the plate. It's very, very beautiful. And so look, that's even not liked the moisture. And this is right near the water tank that overflows, and it's a wet spot. So bananas and things like that, but not everyone likes that. So I picked a really big one yesterday and roasted it and put it on salad as well. I do food prep for about 4 days in advance, so I was doing all that, and I roasted some mixed vegetables. So zucchini out of the garden, a bit of onion, just trying to think what was in it, and the beetroot, and it was so sweet. I will definitely be growing that again, or more of it, and saving its seed. So this is the one I cut open yesterday. Look at that. Aren't they wonderful? They're so pretty. And then I cut it thick for air frying, and thin like this with little strips for the salad. It's so much, I mean, it just reminds me of Christmas. Now, because I backed off the water, things are looking a little bit wilted today. They're okay. I'll be watering tonight, I think. We're not going to have water for about 10 days, they say. But this is the garden I started, you saw last time. I had moved the rhubarb. That is a teddy what is it? Polar bear zinnia that survived in there. I've got sweet potato, pino in a pot, eggplant. In that pot is mints that are competing with this mulberry, but look, there's mulberry. There's mulberries. Who knows if the birds get them. I've got mung beans growing at the back for the first time to try. That is the sweet peas you saw in the last video. So pretty. All gone to seed now. I was going to collect the seeds, but the pods burst open. So I don't think there's much on that plant to collect, and they're all in the ground. So I'm expecting a massive display next year, next season. This is the area you saw that was pretty bare with a few plants in it last time. And we've got the tomatoes growing there, and the zucchini, which has been harvested, so you can't see the zucchinis on that. That one was, hang on, which one is that one? That one's a green one. Oh, I can't remember now. I think that's the Lebanese one. The kale that you saw that was almost annihilated last video has bounced back without intervention. I've seen little spiders hiding. Hang on, where can I get in there? Little spiders hiding in little curl bits there. I think the spiders have dealt with that issue for me. All of this has been mulch. I've thrown a bit of pea straw around, which the birds throw around more than I do. You can see this, I'm always sweeping this back, but I like to keep my asparagus mulched, and this is the one I was showing you last time, which we started to harvest from. I figured the spears are plenty healthy enough. I think I'll harvest off this one. So I've been doing that. And this, my friends, is the baby volunteer tomato, which is probably my best tomato at the moment. From the last video, you saw me go, oh, I've got a tomato growing here. It's one here, and this one, all I've done is stake and prune it, nothing else. Just stake and prune it. I've let two arms grow up, and there's probably about at least 30 tomatoes on it, all free, and much happier than the seedlings that I bought. I've trimmed back my marjoram, and that's nice and lush now. Here's another scarlet runner, which I've supported with another stick all the way up across there. We've been harvesting. So there they are in there. There's another one trying to grow here, and it really doesn't have support. So I don't know where it's going to go. I might have to trim the top of that one and just let it bush out. I've got sweet potatoes growing here. Happily, I've eaten some of the leaves this week, but they don't get a whole lot of sun here, especially this one around here. So we'll see how it goes. Yet we've got this. This is a sunflower that's actually come up. Looks like a sunflower to me. More volunteer tomatoes. Seeds from the coriander that I bought that was dying at Bunnings, and bought it for 50 cents last year. It went straight to seed because it was stressed, and I saved the seeds and planted them in here this year. Now I've got coriander growing in summer because this is a shaded area. And I moved my worm farm. My worms are just exploding in there. I need to probably transplant some. I've made this little area here a little sitting area with a second-hand seat set, and this is the alleyway of compacted soil full of stone and not much else that's actually growing things. So we've started to have some life come back into here. I've got a bit of junk. I don't know if I've really shown you up this far. So that's the back steps, and I've got the passion fruit growing up there. There's where the asparagus row is, and you can see it's not really a sunny spot. It's a place where most people would advise you not to even bother growing, but still got a lot of food growing in here. That's where I've dumped my pots and stuff to sort out. We've got hard rubbish coming up, so there's an old broken trestle and stuff ready to go out. But I started by planting things that I probably thought I could chop and drop and start feeding the soil, mulched through kitchen scraps in what I was trying to say was I dug trenches, filled it with sloppy kitchen scraps and covered it with mulch. It may have had a bit of, chook manure on here at some stage too. But the point is, don't throw your kitchen scraps away. Don't give it to green recycle. Use them for your own garden. Because you can turn uninhabitable areas into growing areas if you need to, which is what I'm trying to do here. It's not as lush as some of the other areas, but it takes time. So things are growing here. The choco's been slow, keeps on kind of growing, and then yes, no, and I haven't got the chocos on it yet. It's but each time it throws up its leaves, it looks a bit happier. Over here, the comfrey pieces I put in are huge. Well, that one's huge, but not so, because obviously that gets less water as it drains down this way. This is on a slope. But I've just put a little plonked some pen soil that's got manure and who knows what else in it there, and I've thrown some pepino cuttings in there that I rooted in water, and probably something else that I've forgotten, but I've started growing there. If it doesn't grow quickly, doesn't matter. It was just hard packed, nothing but a weed attracting platform before. I did put seeds in there, new ones that don't look like they're happy. Back to my back steps, I still only have 2 or 3 banana passion fruit on this thing that's huge, lots of flowers, yet no fruit. Now, I've seen bees in it. I think it's birds, possibly vermin that are taking the flowers or the start of the fruit. I don't know. But for some reason, I'm not getting fruit on here. And can someone tell me, is that an amaranth? Has that grown out? That's the pen soil that I haven't used yet. And it started growing out in about a week or two. It's this massive, very happy thing. Or it could be just a weed. Now this is a treasure because this is a tropical tree. This is a babaco. That's supposed to be incredibly giving as far as fruit. I've been watching it like a hawk because my first lot of fruit got nibbled away. This seems to be untouched, and I've got about 19 fruit on it. These little things here grow big, like large sweet potato size big. Apparently it tastes like champagne, and it is thriving here, right on the edge, outside edge of my chook pen. And it's I'm really looking forward to this. Really looking forward to this fruit. I'm watching it to see if there's anything comes along, starts chewing it, and then I'll bag them. But because they grow so big, I thought I'll just let it go and see if it's, I try and avoid steps if I can. Because there's enough to do in the garden. There is for one person with this size. So this is inside the wire bed now. I'll give you a look-see. And again, that soil was being used last year, grown into, had mulch on it. This is all freshly mulched here. So you can see the size of the plants compared to that side. There is an obvious difference because time makes a difference in the garden. I've got pine berries growing happily here. I thought the lizard was taking them, but I think the mice were taking them. They are the most beautiful tasting strawberries, if you can call them strawberries. They taste like tropical. They're really yummy. I've got beans in here and young eggplants. teenage eggplants and more mature eggplants with flowers over there. That's where my calendula finished, and I've got a little seedling that's popped up to replace it there. I can see feathers in here. I think the birds are back in here, which they can get in if they want to. They can get in through chicken wire, it's just not fine enough. That's the alpine strawberry that keeps on giving. Tiny berries, but it just keeps on giving. I've got a regular berry in the middle, strawberry. I've got a couple of pots with Brussels sprouts I didn't think I was going to get, and then they were being attacked, but they're looking like they're okay now. I might put them in the ground. The corn in here is not doing as well. Again, it's not as good a bed as the other. Oh, hello, beautiful. Oh, I love the birds. Got a lot of little birds here. They're beautiful. Different tomatoes, and what have we got? Basil, some lettuce hiding. You can see a cucumber over there in a pot. I've had a couple of cucumbers off that little tiny plant. It's just amazing how they can hold the cucumber without snapping. But there's another one. It's about hand height at least. Another one on it. Roselle, growing for the very first time and looking healthy. What have we got? Basil here, weeds that I have to keep fighting. A tomato seedling that I bought, I can't remember the variety, that is having a little bit of issue with curly leaf. I'm persisting at the minute, but I'm not going to risk other plants if it continues. I've got cantaloupe, two cantaloupe, or it says rock melon, but there's a couple of late seedlings that I put in. I would have showed you earlier. What do we got? That is a zinnia that I've planted, and here's a lot of the peanuts. I grew turnips for the first time. They grew really quickly, delicious. I eat them, the leaves and the root, and stir fries, really good. The leaves are actually really good like that, where some leaves aren't, but they are. I've got my parsley going to seed, so those seeds are pretty mature in there. I'll let them pop up in the garden by themselves, save some to share or take to my swap mates, and honestly so much more. Now I'm not going to show you the side garden today because this video got way too long, way too quick. I'll talk about container growing another day, and our grape structure, which I'm using as a temporary place to grow beans off my veranda. I just really wanted to get a video out to you. It's been a huge month for me. There's so much I've done in the garden, but there's been so much happening for me personally and around me. The year ended quite with a lot going on, so getting the video out was a bit tricky. I have got so much footage sitting there that I was going to knit together, and lots of cooking. So I've done preserves and all sorts of recipes, but I just want to finish this video like this. I want to finish you with encouragement and give you an idea of what's coming up. So the encouragement is, I have grown in places where people advised me not to, that nothing would grow, there wasn't enough light, the fences weren't on the right side, the ground, whatever. Like, there was all the elements against growing food in those areas, or growing anything really much. My encouragement is to you is you don't have to spend a lot of money to test these things out. You don't have to build a big garden in an area to test things out. You can just start with a spot. Just start with a small little guild and build one little spot and see how it goes. Last year, in that asparagus alley that I showed you, I mean, can you see how close that is to my house And when we started that, on the other side wasn't the passion fruit, it was a jasmine, so it was just as covered. So sun coming that way, it would just totally shelter, and some, obviously the fence would shelter the other way. So that area does not get a lot of sun. I grew tomatoes there last year. I grew and got ripe tomatoes last year, and I had tomatoes into June, I think. So I may not have got as many, but I got a lot. So my encouragement to you is a seed costs very little. And if you don't, and if you are in a position like a lot of us, where finances are so tight now that you can't just go and buy everything, that's probably a good thing, because you don't need to be buying all the plastics and things and the commercial stuff. You can go to crop swaps and stuff and pick up some seeds and recycle your kitchen scraps and put the word out for some free mulch. And if you tell your friends and family what you're doing, opportunities pop up to recycle objects that would otherwise be trellising or staking. Use sticks like I showed you in this video to do a support, and just tie it on with zip ties. Like zip ties cost next to nothing. You might even have some in the shed. There's so many workarounds that you can recycle and test these theories. Now, I would love to know in the future how many kilos of food come out of these areas that were deemed impossible. And I will bring you a video of the side garden that I had kind of not done a lot in it, because this had this massive shade tree that was shading pretty much that whole area. I had it under mulch sitting there waiting, and hadn't planted a lot in there. Now that is fairly planted out now, so I will bring that to you. Also, I want to show you preserves, options, and speak to you a little bit about my health situation and where we're going from there. And that will probably help a lot of other people. So, as we journey forward together. Okay, so thanks for watching. I'm sorry it was a long one. There was just, my garden, there's so many differences in it now, but it gives you kind of a broad look at most of the outside and the alleyway, the backside and the alleyway. I've got a side garden now too, and a front garden. So, like your public garden at the front. So those two are still, they're all a work in progress, but you certainly haven't been updated on what they look like and what I've got in there and what's happening and what's working. So I will bring that to you. But as you can see, there's so many different plants that are just not your stock standard vegetable garden that you can grow and have food, and some of them really do surprise you. Some of them give you a lot of food where you don't expect it, and that all adds up. And you can pretty much, I walk out there, I shouldn't say we because it's me that does it, but I walk out there every day and check my garden, and harvest at least every second day, and bring in enough vegetables for the two of us, plus some. So this is the time of year that there's enough, and in a few weeks' time there's probably going to be stacks more than we can eat, and I'll be preserving more. So, but I'd love to talk to you also about other options for food, so food security. So there are a lot of things that people may not realise is available to them, that can really help. So we can talk about that too. And anything you'd like to talk, anything you want to ask me or you want to see, because it's hard to share a lot of details in these videos. So anything you really want to know about, ask me. And I would love to share that with you, and encourage you too. So, and thank you for all those who do comment and engage. I feel like I've got just a little bit of a like-minded family growing beneath my videos that I can talk to. So, thank you. Bye for now.